Welcome to Thursday evening breathing buddies. So let's get started. Let's start with some deep breathing. We're going to do some deep breathing, and then we're going to add some slow breathing to it. Then we're going to do some light breathing. We're going to get around to the light breathing relatively quickly. So sitting up straight, unsupported, if you're able to. You might want to close your eyes as we do this. Now, if you haven't done this before, take your hands, put them on your lower ribs. Have the thumbs pointing forwards if you can, and your fingers kind of wrapping around behind you. And now just settle and concentrate on the feeling of breathing low into the belly. So we talk about belly breathing a lot. That's just what happens when the diaphragm contracts and descends. But breathing's happening in 360 degrees. Belly's moving out to the front. On each inhalation, feeling the ribs expand outwards, laterally, and on each exhalation, feeling them contract inwards, but also feeling that movement into the back body as well. You've got this cylinder, if you like, around your waist. The diaphragm is moving up and down inside it, but it's forcing the cylinder out in 360 degrees. So now place one hand on your chest, one on your belly, just above your navel. See if you can remain aware of that lateral movement, that movement into the back now that you've taken the hands away. And that forward movement of the belly should be much more obvious now. Now what we're aiming for here with breathing deep is that there should be no movement of the upper hand, or very little movement. All the movement should be into the lower hand, into the abdomen, not into the chest. When we breathe into the chest, it tends to make the shoulders rise. Often if you see people are running, or anyone who's exercising hard, they start to use the full lung capacity, and then you do kind of end up breathing into the upper part of the chest. Shoulders move up and down. But if you get into the habit of doing that day to day, and just when you're supposed to be at rest, there's a few things that can happen. You start getting neck ache, start getting lower back ache because you're not breathing into the belly perhaps. It can make you feel stressed because you're not getting the best gas exchange, and you're not creating vagal tone. You're not stimulating the vagus nerve. So we want to be breathing into that lower hand, feeling that lower hand moving. Now here's perhaps the semantic shift. That breathing deep doesn't mean filling the lungs to capacity necessarily. It just means breathing low. I talk about breathing light, slow and deep. We could just as easily, and maybe it's more accurate to say light, slow and low. So we're going to bear that in mind a little bit later on. So now you can leave your hands where they are if that's good feedback to be getting, or you can rest them on your lap or wherever's comfortable. And as you're breathing low, I'm now going to do some counting to set a pace. This is going to be really simple, 1-to-1 ratio. I'm going to count us in for 4, out for 4. Then we'll slow it down a bit. I'll be in for 5 and out for 5. And then I'll gradually drop the count and we'll move towards breathing light, creating a little bit of air hunger. Okay, so we need to get in sync for this. So when you're ready, exhale, then breathe in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 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 in, and exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. In, this will be for 5, 3, 4, 5. Out for 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. In, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5. In, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5. In, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5. In, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5. In, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. I'm going to drop the cues now. Inhale, just carry on at your own pace. Keeping the inhalation and the exhalation roughly the same length. Now, as you're doing this, think about how we sometimes describe these inhalations and exhalations. We sometimes think of the inhalation as being active. There are muscles contracting. And then the exhalation has been the passive partner. Talk about the air, just relaxing, or the sighing the air out, just letting the air leave, that sort of language. But sometimes with these kind of breathing exercises, or maybe if you're doing a mindfulness exercise that's focusing on being aware of your breath, often it becomes, the whole process becomes active. So rather than just leaving it alone and letting it happen, we have a tendency to get involved and be controlling the inhalation and the exhalation. We don't really actually need to do either. The inhalation happens all by itself, as does the exhalation. The mind is, as we know, it's powerful, it's also very subtle. So I'm just going to suggest you relax and let your breathing remain deep and low while you shift your focus to your nose, feeling the slightly cooler air as it enters your nose on the inhalation, slightly warmer air as it leaves the nose on each exhalation. Colder air entering the nose, warmer air leaving the nose. Now I'm going to move towards creating a little bit of air hunger whilst you're breathing slow and deep. So this is where, remembering that little shift in how we think about breathing deep, what it actually means, comes into play. So breathing deep doesn't mean doing anything to its breathing to any kind of full capacity. It just means breathing into the abdomen, making sure the diaphragm's engaged, breathing low. So I'm going to suggest, as you relax, and you just need to relax into this, try not to control the breathing, your breathing too much. On your next inhalation, your diaphragm's not going to contract quite as far as it did on the previous one. Completely relaxed as that happens. Now continue this pattern. Can you be aware of your diaphragm contracting a little less on each inhalation, so that the volume of air in each breath diminishes, the tidal volume reduces. Doesn't matter if your breathing slows down in order to do this. Doesn't matter if it gets to a point where you feel like you're barely breathing at all. That's a good thing. The point is to keep it slow and low, slow and low. And what we're looking for is that feeling that you'd just like to be breathing a little bit more air. Mildly uncomfortable. Or maybe you've been doing this long enough now to kind of made friends with that feeling. If your breathing starts to become erratic, just take some fuller breaths. And then come back to the practice. And whilst you're still breathing slow and low, can you get to the point where even the tiny hairs in your nose stop moving? When we breathe light, we're allowing carbon dioxide to increasing concentration in the blood and improves blood flow around the body, improves oxygen delivery to muscles and tissues and to the brain, which in turn helps us to feel calm, focused. And when we breathe low, and it doesn't necessarily need to be full breaths, but just when we're making sure that we're actively engaging the diaphragm, we're creating a little bit of vagal tone as well. That's the vagus nerve switching on, sending biofeedback to the brain, telling it all's well, we're safe. Okay, so I'd like to take some fuller breaths now. Drop the breathe light. We're going to wrap things up over the next few minutes in the same way I often do this, which is to count it in for 4, out for 6, little pause at the end, and then we're going to try and just get back to that just for a couple of minutes, some breathe light on top of that. So now we are going to be taking fuller breaths deeper into the lungs, really ramping up the vagal tone. So we need to get in sync for this again. So when you're ready, exhale, then breathe in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, pause, breathe in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, pause, breathe in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, pause, breathe in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, pause, breathe in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, pause, breathe in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, pause, in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, pause, in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, pause, in, drop the count, out. Carry on at your own pace, and now we're looking to have make sure the exhalation is slightly longer than the inhalation. But again, just try and don't try. Step back if you can, if you're able to. Try to not try. It will happen on its own. You've set up a rhythm. If it helps, take your focus back to your nose and just feel the air as it enters and leaves your nose. And then see if you can generate a little bit of air hunger, whilst breathing low into the abdomen, feeling the belly move, even if it's very subtle now. Can you draw in slightly less air on each breath? At this stage, if you want to ramp it up just a little bit more, you could try just covering one nostril. It's the hotline to air hunger. So hopefully now you're breathing low, slow and light. You're relaxed. You're not trying to influence the breathing action too much. It will happen on its own. You just need to suggest a subtler movement. Okay, gradually taking some fuller breaths now. Getting to the end of the practice. A few fuller breaths, then just let your breathing return back to however it wants to be. Thank you for joining me this week for Breathing Buddies.